If you want to understand emotional intelligence deeply, then this video is for you. So far, 4 videos of emotional intelligence have been uploaded, whose link has been given in the description box. The topics that we are going to discuss today are as follows: 7 varieties of intelligence, changes in business environment and emotional intelligence, utility and applications of emotional intelligence in administration or governance, practical applications of emotional intelligence, help by emotional intelligence, importance of emotional intelligence, ways to learn emotional intelligence, criticism, and then conclusion. Our first topic is 7 varieties of intelligence. Gardner, a renowned educational psychologist working at Harvard University, questioned the traditional method used to measure intelligence as a single, one-dimensional skill and the only golden key to success in life. He talked about multiple intelligences and added emotional qualities in its components that lead to success in professional life. These assumptions were completely different from earlier assumptions, in which understanding were considered purely cerebral properties. He expressed his views in his book Frames of Mind. He wrote that only one type of intelligence is insufficient for success in life. He identified 7 types of understandings, including common prevalent intellectual skills. We can understand by this table. Mathematical or logical intelligence is related with solving a structural problem. And Srinivas Ramanujan is the great practitioner of this type of intelligence. Next, intelligence is linguistic and related activities literature. And Kalidas, Ravindranath Tagore, Milton, these were the great practitioners of this activity. Next, intelligence is spatial visualization. Michelangelo was the great practitioner of this activity. Next, intelligence is kinesthetic genius. And the related activities physical fluidity and grace, as in classical dance and Olympic gymnastics. Birju Maharaj can be considered as a great practitioner of this activity. Next type of intelligence is musical, and great musical compositions of West and East is related activity with this type of intelligence. And Tansen Tyagaraja can be considered as a great practitioner of this activity. Next intelligence is interpersonal intelligence. And Mahatma Gandhi and Abraham Lincoln, like personalities, are the practitioner of this type of intelligence. And the last intelligence is interpersonal intelligence. Aurobindo, Lord Buddha, were the great practitioner of this type of intelligence, in which great insights into human psyche and finding inner peace through adapting oneself to one's true feeling can be considered as a related activity with this type of intelligence. Next topic is changes in business environment and emotional intelligence. In recent years, emotional understanding has become a major topic in management studies. Its emergence is a drastic change in old thinking. In earlier managerial models, which were based on hierarchical systems, senior executives were placed at a higher level. The boss used to keep a distance from his subordinates. He feared that familiarity would bring contempt and social discipline would decrease. To sense the feelings of subordinates was not considered appropriate because common organizational goals are different from personal goals, and the person's expectations were an attempt to fulfill the expectations or need, hindering the attainment of the objectives of an organization. The personal feelings of the employees did not matter. The highest ranking managers were unwilling to listen to the sad stories of subordinates. But today, we live in a different business world. Globalization and information technology have completely changed the work environment of business. This change has also changed the emotional environment within organizations. Corporate heads can no longer work aggressively or dictate to their subordinates, because by doing this, they cannot achieve optimal results. They should have the virtue of interpersonal skills. Senior managers should understand that subordinates' feelings. Subordinates should be treated as fellow workers. They should avoid the escalation of differences and help people to be comfortable with the flow of the goal of organization. In any organization, work done by teaming together is the key for success. Nowadays, teams are formed with knowledgeable personnel who have specialized skills. In these situations, managers have to evaluate the work done by others and constructively criticize for improvement. It is everyday work in every organization at every level. Utility and applications of emotional intelligence in administration or governance. At present time, the level of tension in the civil services is high because the continuously increasing expectations of the welfare state, conflicting and hard pressures due to coalition politics, media pressure, civil society movements. These every section of society want immediate results from civil servants. In such complex situations, that civil servant is able to succeed who has the ability to manage the stress and the emotions of his own and others. It is necessary to use emotional intelligence efficiently to achieve organizational goals and administrative efficiency. It is very important for civil servants to understand how to handle these situations involving emotions. By making civil servants believe in their colleagues that you are appreciating their work and increasing their enthusiasm for work, this type of attitude of civil servants will make the performance of colleagues better and positive. Promotion, training, selection, code of conduct, genetic benefits, These are given for improvement of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is an essential requirement of public servants because their work is directly connected to the public. Therefore, civil servants are expected to have emotional intelligence. They are also required to control their emotions during their work duties. Utility in administration. Civil servants are in great need of emotional intelligence during the discharge of their responsibilities and performance. The utility of emotional growth is as follows. Civil servants often have to work with those employees who are not selected by them. So, if they understand their abilities and interest and divide the work accordingly, the chances of success increase. To use such expressions in their relationship with the staff to create a healthy work culture in the office, like interacting with the subordinates on a level of equality and encouraging them. Try to make everyone dedicated to the objectives of the organization instead of formal rules. Participate in the personal happiness and miseries of employees in such a way that they feel a deep commitment. Encouraging employees to fulfill their goals by giving them definitive objectives. When necessary, show yourself working harder than them. If the public is angry on any issue, then these benefits of emotional intelligence can be. To understand what is the actual level of extremity and in what amount of expressions are fake. Strict control over your expressions so that nothing comes out that can make the problem more extreme. Use of such language or non-linguistic gestures to reduce the distance between the public and administration, to make them feel that the administration is really with them. To try to divert the sentiments of the public in the right direction so that the public can also help in solving the problem with the administration. An administrator with emotional intelligence is able to motivate himself and others, which may have the following benefits. Being motivated and not giving up in times of political pressure or work pressure. In case of large projects, such situations often occur. To motivate the staff in such a way that when required, they should spend their full energy in the work of the organization. The great administrators also motivate the public in such a way that problems begin to solve themselves, such as make labor donation like Sarmadan by the students of different schools of the district and managing the situations in the event of disaster. Utility in governance. The need and utility of emotional intelligence in administration and governance is as follows. All the benefits of emotional intelligence in civil service are also received in politics and governance. Managing the pressures of different pressure groups. Bringing social change in such a way that social groups do not get stressed by it. But change is easy. Like, instead of bringing the civil code at once, try to bring it with the consent of different social groups as an alternative instead of mandatory, so that the families who want to accept it will accept it and the rest goes the traditional way. Making the judicial decisions of Khap Panchayats illegal, but making them feel that the state is not opposed to them, but is protecting the right to life of various persons. to give proper representation in the Council of Ministers to various states and different communities of the country, so that no group feel a sense of isolation. Do not use discouraging statements regarding the army or soldiers, like soldiers are born to die. To maintain respectful feelings towards all the symbols or institutions of national importance and also motivate the public for this. Standing with the public at the time of a disaster. One more thing, methods of expressions are important, like wearing costumes according to the group, using their language, etc. Next topic is practical applications of emotional intelligence. People with long experience of public administration believe that the situation can be controlled better by emotional intelligence on stressed occasions like furious protest, riots, etc. Suppose that the farmers or any trade union of a district is agitating with their demands and the government is not considering their demands. In such a situation, the protesters are becoming aggressive. Then it will be the duty to try to divert the sentiments of the public or farmers or laborers in the right direction, so that the people also help the administration in solving the problem. Administrators in areas where caste or communal tension is at a high level have a special responsibility to be friendly with all groups, irrespective of their personal beliefs. Suppose Mr. Jain Sahab is a collector and at the festival of Bakrid, he has to congratulate that community and that too in such a way that even if Jain Sahab has a bit of bitterness towards this festival, it should not seen. It should not seen at all. Only people with emotional intelligence can run the administration in such a stressed area. In this way, a civil servant with emotional intelligence gets control of situations, even in difficult and stressful situations, without losing patience and attaching himself to people with a balanced mood. A person with emotional intelligence is always able to keep their personal and public life relationships safe and strong, because the management of emotions is the prerequisite for strengthening their relationships. Now, moving on the next topic, that is help by emotional intelligence. A civil servant can get help from emotional intelligence in the following ways: to maintain better interpersonal or cordial atmosphere at workplace, to accurately identify the mentality of their subordinates, and to predict future results through their ability to perform. Understanding the attitude of beneficiaries to ensure the successful operation of a project, to determine the relief and rehabilitation priorities of the victims during a disaster or accident by accurately assessing their attitude, to develop a healthy working style by controlling own negative impulses. The use of emotional intelligence develops the ability to gain control over adversity through interaction, to perform quality work by proper management of time, information, and human resources. Now, moving on the next topic, that is importance of emotional intelligence. Evidences of evolutionary biology and neuroscience suggest that emotions are much more efficient as compared to IQ. in the formation of group intelligence and social capital. Suppose in meetings and other group activities, when people come to support each other, the most important element of group intelligence is not average or highest IQ, but emotional intelligence. The only person in that group with low emotional intelligence can weaken the collective IQ of the entire group. Suppose a terrible natural disaster has occurred. There is a need for better coordination between the center and the state and various departments for relief and rehabilitation. In short, the decision has to be taken by the people. Imagine that all the executives are considering the future strategy in the meeting. As stated above, the combined IQ and EQ of all the people in the group is its group IQ. Meanwhile, anger of the head of a department with low emotional intelligence boils over and a heated debate starts. This shifts the direction of entire meeting and the discussion loses its direction. So here a person's low emotional intelligence spoils the discussion, so IQ alone cannot build our group intelligence. Emotional intelligence, on the other hand, focuses like a laser beam on what is important to us. Life would be dull, colorless, and meaningless without the signals transmitted by emotions. Without feelings, the word interest cannot be added to public interest. Organizational society cannot function without emotional understanding. In the absence of feelings, we cannot add the meaning of the word organized to organized society. According to Antonio Damasio, professor of neurology at the Medical School of University of Iowa, he says there is no doubt that in certain circumstances, emotion can disrupt reasoning. Yet, research shows that the emotion impairment can give rise to a significant source of irrational behavior. Without intellectual guidance of emotions, man cannot respond to the situation by being gentle, cannot take advantage of the right time and right place, cannot understand the feeling of ambiguous and contradictory messages, not the importance of different elements of the situation, cannot identify, cannot detect similarities between situations, cannot integrate new concepts and create new paths or develop a unique path. People with high emotional understanding know how to listen to their own feelings and also control their spread so they are not hijacked by them. People with emotional understanding know how to monitor emotional feelings. They also know how their emotions affect others. Emotionally intelligent people can laugh at themselves. They know where to use your strong sides and how to compensate for your weakness. He takes care of others' feelings and sympathize with them. He do ethical work and build trust through integrity and credibility. He accepts, learns from their own mistakes. He is comfortable with new ideas and new information. He listens to other people and knows how to communicate effectively. Now, let's move on the next topic, that is ways to learn emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman has written and researched a lot on this topic on the forum of CREIO. C REIO is a website which stands for Consortium for Research on Emotional Intelligence in Organizations. His basic argument is that there are two types of learning process. Number one, cognitive learning, and number two, emotional learning. Only the intellectual side is required to learn cognitively. And this process is quite simple. But to learn an emotional level, one has to go through a long and difficult process. It cannot be learned in a day workshop or by reading motivational books. Suppose an engineer is highly skilled in his work, but at the level of personality, he is very shy, submissive, reclusive, and introverted. He also knows that these aspects of his personality are failing him. If a psychologist tells him that he should talk to strangers as much as possible, go for frequent visits to friends or colleagues, some friends should be made with whom he can say everything, then this process of learning is cognitive. Not only because it is related to emotions, because it has received some information at the intellectual level. The emotional level of learning will be where these suggestions reach the level of his emotions and the behaviors, and he habitually, without thinking or without special effort, starts to make these choices in such situations. In USA, in many schools and universities, such experiments are going on, where students have to read a special course. These courses are usually taking place under the direction of CREIO. Some states have also made it compulsory for all children. The basic premise of this project is that if different aspects of emotional intelligence are taught sequentially, keeping in mind the age and IQ of the children, then better results come. First type of classes are introductory classes, teaching through pictures how to accurately estimate a person's emotion and the kind of behaviors that such attitudes lead to. In this class, teachers make different faces and show them through pictures and videos. Second type of classes are intermediate classes. Empathy is practiced in them. It tries to make the children understand and feel what the other person is on the basis of the non-linguistic signs of others. And third type of classes are higher classes. Many other aspects are taught at this level, such as managing emotions in a state of stress. In the event of a dispute with someone, use such expressions so that dispute does not escalate, but the solution can be found. Development of abilities to listen patiently to other persons, especially opponents. The success of these experiments has been estimated based on some tests. Roger P. Wiesberg evaluated 668 such experiments and made the following conclusions. Number 1. Test improved academic performance of 50% of the students. There was a 28% decrease in cases of misconduct. Number 3. The suspension of children from a school decreased by 44%. And fourth is 63% of the students displayed positive behavior as compared to earlier. And last conclusion was cases of discipline against students decreased by 27%. Apart from this There was an increase in attendance, increase in students' ability to concentrate and functional memory. In 2002, UNESCO launched a worldwide campaign under which 10 fundamental of social and emotional learning were sent to the Ministry of Education in every country with the suggestion that the process of teaching them should be started in all schools. Currently, more than 50 countries are running such experiments in which Singapore, England, Australia, New Zealand are very high. These experiments are going on in Malaysia, Japan, Hong Kong, etc. in Asia. Sometimes it is called moral education and sometimes it is called character education. Characteristic education imparted in each society is close to emotional intelligence in many cases. Those who lack it can follow the following suggestions, like in the process of self-assessment, openly admit your weaknesses, shortcomings, don't hide them. Only if you accept the shortcomings, there is a possibility of correcting them. Instead of getting frustrated by just looking at your shortcomings, also consider the aspects that make a person special. Do not let the feeling of self-respect die. Use of auto-suggestive mode in the most difficult circumstances. Whenever a difficult situation arises, it is to be resolved by ourselves. Do not share at someone else's pace. Don't allow sad feelings to dominate the mind in any situation. If there is intense emotionality and a decision, expression or behavior has to be made, then create a gap of some time. That is to say, I will make a decision tomorrow or after some time. In a state of stress, the state of stress should be studied in such a way that how stress affect, like in stress, he becomes very angry or becomes depressed. According to the study, he should devise techniques that can provide immediate relief in the event of intense stress. If you get angry, listen to some quiet music or talk to a loved one on the phone. And if there is depression, listen to high-speed music or take action like cycling. Also divert your attention from that issue is also a solution. Following rules in case of dispute. To remain confined to the present dispute, not to raise the issue of the past. Select your arguments with carefully. Avoid arguments that make the problem more serious. Trying to see the problem from the other person's point of view as well. To suggest solutions which are possible for both the parties to agree. If the dispute cannot be resolved, then it is agreed in a peaceful manner that we will not discuss this issue. As far as possible, forgive the other party in your mind for his mistakes. And last is, make a habit of using laughter in your expression so that tension does not arise. Laugh with everyone, but not laugh at everyone. I'm repeating again. Laugh with everyone, but not laugh at everyone. And next topic is criticism of emotional intelligence. In relation to criticism of emotional intelligence, it can be said that this is not a clear science and therefore difficult to measure. It is generally used for self-report and evaluation. It has its own rigid limitations such as biasness and manipulation, but the ability test is also not devoid of flaws. And it cannot be as obvious as a mirror if it were to deal with emotional settings in real life situations. Critics also argue that skill is evaluated in emotional intelligence and that too much time intensive. And huge money is used in this measurement. So the concluding lines are: bureaucratic processes have moved more and more away from the historical concept of dehumanization. Based on the principles of self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management, emotional intelligence has become important for the internal organization of public agencies, like leadership, collaboration of colleagues, and external exchange with citizens. Despite some shortcomings, emotional intelligence skills remain important for bureaucratic processes. So that's all the topic of emotional intelligence. I hope this topic is now clear to all of you. Thank you.